Previously on Battlestar Galactica.
What did I do?
You killed the car.
Anyway, good morning. Good to see you all. Welcome back to the channel. Cliffjumper here. Sorry for wearing the sunglasses. For those like 2 or 3 people that I bitterly offend by actually wearing sunglasses while I'm driving so I can see stuff. It's weird. It's a weird thing to get flexed about, but hey, you know, whatever. Anyway, I'm here this morning with the San Diego Car Enthusiasts group that I like to do a lot of drives with and hang out with, and some very interesting cars involved with our group here. So I'm following a Lamborghini Aventador Performante Spider that belongs to one of my buddies, and behind me I've got a Porsche GT3 RS, Lotus Elise. What else do we have here with us this morning? There's an Alfa Giulietta. And yeah, it should be a fun morning. It's a nice, bright, shiny morning in San Diego while it's snowing in the rest of the country, and I'm gonna go to a new Cars and Coffee event that I haven't been to before. Anyway, it's called The Vault. It's supposed to be a lot of high-end, exotic, interesting cars, in addition to the, you know, the bourgeoisie peons that have weird stuff like me. And I'm sure we'll have our usual group of Audis and BMWs. And so, how's your day going? Where you're at? Do you have your car put away for winter? So, I'm sorry. I felt that pain. That was, honestly, one of the main reasons that I couldn't hang with living in the Midwest. I was out there for 2 years in Indiana, and after 2 years of realizing that people only brought out their cars from June until the end of August, and then everybody put their cars away, and nobody did anything for 8 months. That was soul crushing for me, because I'm so used to Southern California car culture where we can do stuff pretty much 52 weekends a year. Rancho Santa Fe Cars and Coffee happens every Saturday, rain or shine, and I don't like to go out to the rainy ones because it's a long drive to stand in the rain. And yeah, the cars do look really cool when they've got water beaded up all over them, but then it's an incredible mess to clean it up afterwards, and I'm just not a sadist. It has been rainy, and I have not wanted to go work on the car outside in the rain for the last couple weeks, so I haven't gotten a lot of actual work done. I still need to install the Black Forest Industries motor mounts in this car, which it needs them desperately. I am pretty sure that these are still the original motor mounts. So 204,000 miles on these, and they're done. They are just pieces of mush, and every time the car shifts now you can feel it just rocking around. So while we're driving along here, and assuming that my microphone is working, I'll just give you a little background and snapshot of some of the local car scene stuff that happens on a typical weekend in San Diego. There are a lot of different cars and coffee events that take place down here. Some are better than others qualitatively, some are better than others quantitatively. I've never been to this one before. This one's called The Vault, so we'll just see what it looks like. I understand that there are a lot of exotic and rare cars that come to this one, and that some of the local high-end dealers use it as a showcase to kind of premiere some of their expensive stuff they're trying to sell. So we'll see what they have. Rancho Santa Fe Cars and Coffee is one that I normally frequent, and you're gonna find people there like Demuro and lot of interesting, well-known cars show up there. Yeah, you have a pretty good chance on any given weekend of running into the supercars you grew up with. Ferrari F40, F50, 288 GTO, Lamborghini Countach. Well, I mean, Lamborghinis, tons of Lamborghinis, tons of McLarens, tons of very interesting, rare, old, vintage, restored Concorde, Elegant, kind of a lot of good rides show up there. And the cool thing that I like about that gathering is everybody has a pretty good attitude as an enthusiast. Nobody's looking down their nose at somebody else's car, which is great for me because, you know, my car is just not that impressive compared to most of these other cars that are out there. Now, there are weirdos that appreciate cars like the ones I have, and that encourages other people who have weird, rare, quirky cars to bring them out. There's Cars and Coffee that happens up in Carlsbad, and it's always like the same 20 cars that come to it. Again, if you live up in that area, it's okay, but if you're in Carlsbad, you're kind of in that place where you could drive south and come to Rancho Santa Fe, or you could go north and go to San Clemente Cars and Coffee, which I'll cover on an upcoming episode. San Diego has a long history with car enthusiast events. Of course, I was one of those nefarious street racers back in the late 90s, mid 90s, early, okay, so I was just a street racer, just leave it at that. All that fast and furious stuff, yeah, kind of lived it, so that was a thing. Lots of street racing stories to tell. We won't tell them right now. I want to get some of my fellow old school street racers involved and have them tell some of their stories. The Cars and Coffee scene here in San Diego has been excellent for many, many years, and it's a great enthusiast community, which I find to be a rare commodity as I've talked with people who do these sort of things elsewhere. It seems like there's a few different crowds in your typical Cars and Coffee. There's the vintage hot rodders, and if you don't have a vintage hot rod, you are not in the club, and they have no bones whatsoever about telling you you're not in the club, and just, oh, what is that little foreign car? And you know, it doesn't matter. You could pull in a $3 million Ferrari and they'll just look down their nose at you, and that's not cool. Stop it, guys. I don't like that. And then there are the exotic folks that do look down their nose at everybody, and nobody likes them either. You know, I remember being at an event, and a guy had a super, super nice Ferrari, very rare one, and I said, hey, nice car, man. And he said, I know. Not a proper response when somebody compliments you. That's never okay, and it made me just want to go, yeah, I'm not a fan of yours. And then there are the hoonigan get-togethers, or the car meet get-togethers, whatever you want to call them, spelled M-E-A-T, because, you know, that's cool. It's the same people that spell fat with a P-H. And they're into some interesting modifications and customizations to their vehicles, like turning the camber completely inward so that you wear out the inside lip of your wheel and your tire, and you can't go around a corner, and you basically can't do anything that a car normally would do, and it looks, I'm just going to be judgy and say it looks like really stupid, but they're into that. And if you're into that and you like vaping and having fart can grapefruit launcher exhausts and underglow and super loud stereos, then that's the scene for you. And they also like to do burnouts in parking lots and rev their motors and be as obnoxious as possible, and that's just part of their thing. No, just hard pass. There's the lowrider crew, who, let's be real, they probably put the most effort into fabrication and custom work in their cars, both exterior, exterior, frame, bodywork, suspension, they do it all, and it's amazing. And while I don't necessarily want to drive a lowrider, I appreciate all the work that goes into it, and I definitely respect the build. It's a ton of work, it's a labor of love, and yeah, lots of respect there. But you know, they tend to be pretty welcoming of other things, but there's kind of limits, right? A guy rolling into a lowrider meet, and let's say he's got a souped up Camaro or Mustang, and there's nothing lowrider about it. It just happens to be a souped up Mustang or Camaro. They would kind of be like, "Oh, that's cool, Holmes. Go park over there." You know, spectator lot. And to be fair, a lot of the enthusiast communities that are focused on one particular brand or one particular model can be kind of like that. You know, there's the Porsche Club guys, and the typical Porsche Club guy, you know, he's a doctor or an orthodontist, and he golfs. He wears his polo shirt tucked in, and pulls his socks up pretty high. His shorts are maybe a little too short, and he just looks awkward. It's stereotypical, but it doesn't mean that it's not accurate. And they tend to look down their nose at everybody who doesn't have a Porsche 911. Like, they'll even look down their nose at people who only have a Boxster or a Cayman. You know, if it's not a 911, then, you know, don't talk to me. And there are people in, like, the Volkswagen community. If you don't have an air-cooled Volkswagen, they don't want to talk to you. They're not interested. Oh, you've got a water-cooled. Oh, you're one of them. Whatever, man. You can go park over there in the side lot. And to be fair, there's a little bit of that among the water-cooled community as well. There are folks that are totally into the Mark I, Mark II scene, and they don't want to have anything to do with Mark III or newer, with a very limited exception. But there's like a meet that has been going on in LA for probably 20 years, and it is Mark I, Mark II. Now, they will let Corrados in, because they don't know what to do with us. We're technically a Mark II chassis, but there's a lot of Mark III components, and it's right on the borderline of you know, late 80s, early 90s. So they're nice, and they let us in, and that's cool. But they will not let in the Mark IIIs, and like, left to their own devices, they would completely ban Mark IVs and newer from ever attending any of these events. And maybe there's some justification there. I mean, anybody can go buy a brand new Volkswagen, put airbags on it and wheels, and call it a build. And maybe I'm sounding like the curmudgeon, but that's it's not a build. That's some customizing, and we'll just leave it at that. Hey, cool, you customized your car. That's not a build. Not a build. Did you pick up a wrench? No. All right, just stop. And I'm being snooty, and I'm looking down my nose at people that don't build their own cars. And to be fair, there are people who don't build their own cars that have awesome cars, and they go and they buy amazing cars, and they drive the amazing cars, and I really like the amazing cars. Frankly, I don't see a whole lot of guys that have, or gals, sorry, people. I don't see a lot of people that have a classic Ferrari 250 series that actually did the restoration themselves. And frankly, I would be horrified if they did, because it should take some serious workmanship to do that build, that restoration. And if you're just doing it on your, you know, $30 million car, and you don't have the skills and experience to do $30 million worth of work, you probably shouldn't be touching it. Just buy it already done, or pay somebody to do it. I'm fair. That's fair. Just, yeah, that's fine. It's fine. Back to the car scene, though. You know, there are scenes for everybody. The scenes I tend to gravitate towards here in SoCal tend to be where enthusiasts of every level are welcomed, and their cars are appreciated and enjoyed. But there was a guy that came rolling in there in a very expensive McLaren, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, a VR6 Corrado. I used to have one of these when I was in the Navy. I loved it. In fact, I had the supercharged 4-cylinder before I got the VR6. It was a great car." And he went on and on and on about my car, which is cool. I like that. people are like very welcoming. A guy rolled in his, I think 1977 maybe, BMW 2002, and it had rust all over the place. Obviously a very well-driven car. And everybody goes kind of like, cool, it's great to see that on the road. Thank you for bringing it out. Rust and all, nobody cared. Which makes me kind of want to bring my Fiat Spider out to an event, because even though it's got rust that I haven't dealt with yet, I haven't finished a lot that it needs work, I kind of want to bring it out, one of these things. So we'll see how that goes. But you know, my poor Corrado here with 200,000 plus miles, and it's got scratches and scrapes, and it's far from perfect, but it's appreciated, and anybody can bring their special car out to one of these events. My friend Ian brought out his 944 S2 this morning to the event, and people were looking all over that, like, oh cool, this is the 3-liter, right? Oh, look at the Recaro interior. Oh, check this out. Oh, I love the pop-up headlights and all the fun stuff. That's what an enthusiast gathering ought to be about. People appreciating other people's nice cars for the work it is to keep them on the road, or customized work. You know, there's a lot to appreciate, and we have a great time together. And I love that camaraderie. I love the car people. So if you happen to be in SoCal, especially in the San Diego area, and you want to come out to an enthusiast event, you know, hit me up. Happy to show you around, get you connected with some of the groups. Some of them go on drives. Some of them are, you know, just going for the show stuff, which is fine. There's an appeal to all of that. If you wouldn't mind checking out my Drive Tribe articles that I've written, head on over there. You can search for my name. I've written a few articles about various car experiences. I'd love for people to read my stuff. And of course, if you want to partner with me on Patreon and help sponsor me so that I can keep putting out great content for many of the videos that we're doing, replacing parts, doing DIY projects, how to do stuff at home. I want to provide that material for you, and hopefully you find it fun and encouraging and inspiring, and at the very least mildly entertaining. But thank you so much for tuning in. God bless you, and I'm going to just leave you with a few more happy Wookiee noises as I accelerate out of here.